Hello, it's Tommy Hunter. Today I'm going to be giving a speech on Henry Ford and the contributions that he's made to society and how it's affected today's culture. My audience today is my dad, my brother, and my sister. Have you ever imagined what this world would be like without automobiles? Well, it was Henry Ford's dream to replace the horse as a mode of transportation forever and replace it with a vehicle so cheap that everyone could afford them. Henry Ford was born on a farm in 1863. His mother died when he was only 13 years old, and so it was his responsibility to take over the farm. But this is not what he wanted to do the rest of his life. Ever since he was a little boy, he always loved to know how things worked and the mechanics of things and how machines worked. So his passion for this shaped him into becoming one of the most important entrepreneurs and successful people this world has ever seen. So early in his career, he worked for the Edison Illumination Company, and he did this just so he could invest enough money, or make enough money to invest in his own projects. At this time, the quadricycle racing industry was becoming popular, so he saw an opportunity in this and invented his own quadricycle called the Ford quadricycle. And here's a picture of it. Basically, it's two bikes combined with a motor in the middle and a seat. And so, actually, Thomas Edison, it was presented to Thomas Edison at the time, and Edison advised him to redesign it. And because at the time there wasn't very many controls in this quadricycle, and it can only go forwards, right, and left. It couldn't go backwards. So he took his advice and he perfected this automobile. And in 1899, he decided to open his own company called the Detroit Automobile Company, and he was going to put his quadricycle on the market. Well, the only problem with this is that he couldn't produce enough quadricycles to keep his doors open, so he had to close the company pretty soon. In 1903, he opened another company called the Ford Motor Company, and he released the Model A. Well, the Model A, it was actually a pretty popular car. They sold over 500 of them in the very first year. So he became rich off of just that, but it wasn't his only incentive to become rich. His dream was to put a car in every household in America. And so he knew he had to make a cheaper car. So 5 years later, he released the Model T. And that's the car that we've all heard about. It's a car that has everything you need, nothing more and nothing less. So these Model T cars became so popular that he actually couldn't keep up with the demand. So he's had two problems, one in his last company at the Detroit Automobile Company, and the same problem in the Ford Motor Company. He couldn't produce enough. So that is when he effectively used the assembly line. And he used it in an industrialized method, the first person to ever do it. And this lowered the cost of producing the Model T and also the time that it took to make the Model T. And this created a mass industrialization in America. Every company started using the assembly line in this manner, and companies were able to boom because they could create products so quickly and so cheaply. There was only one problem left, though. All of his workers were mad about how hard they had to work. They were expected to make dozens of cars per day. They were expected to make dozens of cars, and people were getting burned out at a really fast rate. So to respond to this, Ford raised the wage to $5, and he created the high work wage. So he paid him $5 a day, which was over double the wage that an average factory maker made back in the day. He also created the 5-day work week, which a lot of companies utilize today. You think of almost any company in the world, and they have a 5-day, 40-hour work week. And Henry Ford is actually the one who came up with this. This made workers more effective during the time that they worked. In conclusion, the Model T was Henry Ford's greatest masterpiece. It was the car that revolutionized the nation. Ford's production system, the use of the assembly line in an industrialized manner, it was based on low skills and high wages, allowed for a huge expansion of the middle class and a more rewarding work culture in today's society. Thank you.